I think it's time for an uplifting episode, a reminder of just how good you have it. In fact, you've won the lottery in life. Did you know that? Well, you have. On today's episode of the Small Business Rally Point, we're going to talk about leadership, gratitude, and how you can give back. We're going to welcome Boyd Ober, President and CEO of Leadership Resources in good old Lincoln, Nebraska, one of my favorite places on the planet, and Nancy Major, the Managing Director of Blessings in a Backpack in Waukesha County. Plus, we're going to get a sneak peek on the second annual official Small Business Holiday Party and the 100% free Small Business Planning Week that we are hosting next week. So many good things to do and so little time. So let's get right into it. This is the Small Business Rally Point, the official meeting of your small business network. And I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Thank you so much for coming today. I really, really appreciate it. If you are in the chat here on Zoom, make sure you comment and ask questions whenever you feel like it. Same thing on Facebook. JB, the showrunner and the hostess with the most, she will convert any questions that you put on Facebook into the Zoom chat so we can see you. So let's do a couple of things that are on my mind. 3 things I've been thinking about this week. First, I am taking time this week, and it kind of falls in line with this episode, to reach out to those meaningful connections that I have in my business network. Now, we know a lot of people, but I think we all know that there's like a Mount Rushmore of people in our network, the ones that we really know and care about, the ones that we turn to when things are bad. I'm trying to make a point this week to turn to those people and say thank you and just pay gratitude to them and make sure that they know how much I value their support and their guidance. It's a good practice, and I think it's something that needs to be done other than when just you're in panic mode. So that's one of the things I'm doing this week. The other thing is I'm starting to get really intrigued with some of these social listening tools that are out there. Data collection on what your audience is searching for. It has dawned on me, and I wish I was smart enough to say this in advance, if you're guessing at what your audience wants to view or hear, you're not doing enough research. And there are tools out there. Morning Fame comes to mind. TubeBuddy is another one. They will tell you what your audience is searching for, almost giving you the answers to the test of what kind of content should I create. Now, I know almost nothing about this space, but I'm trying to learn, and hopefully that means I'll be a better host for you now and in the future. The third thing is a time crunch. I have closed down my meeting calendar from now until Christmas. Why? Because I got too much stuff to do. And I love you, but it's going to wait till January if we're not already in progress, because we want to make sure we finish the year strong, give respect to those that we're working with, and make sure that we close out 2020 with as much of a flaming garbage pile as it's been. Try and close it out the best that we can. So those are the 3 things that are on my mind this week. But I think we should go and get some inspiration, because inspiration is one of the keys to today's episode. And we're going to turn to one of my longtime friends, and I think it's safe to say mentor, Boyd Ober, President and CEO of Leadership Resources in Lincoln, Nebraska. Boyd, good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Good afternoon, Pat. I'm fantastic. Thank you.
It's great to have you on the show, and I think we need to do a little bit of a backstory. At one time, my beloved Abby and I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska for a long time, years and years and years.
Yep.
And I was there as a baby manager in radio, and I didn't know how to supervise people. I didn't know anything. And my manager, Mark Halverson, one of my mentors, connected me with Boyd and said, Boyd, help. And even way back then, you introduced me to so many great concepts that I still use today. But I know about you, but I want everyone else to know about you and Leadership Resources. So share with everyone what you do and what Leadership Resources is all about.
You bet, Pat. I appreciate that. And if I slip, folks, I've called him J-Pat for years. So if I slip, it's going to go back to J-Pat. But okay. I'll tell you what, Pat, first of all, congratulations, my man, on this show. It's awesome. I got a chance to listen to Elsie's a week ago, and it was fantastic. So I just love what you're doing. I love the Idea Coach. And before I forget, to everybody else, happy holidays. You know, I know it's 2020, and we came in looking at perfect vision for the year, right? 2020 vision. And some things happened to us that kind of rocked us a little bit. But bottom line, we're going to make it through this year, and things are going to be good. So what about Leadership Resources? We started 18 years ago, Pat, and we focus on personal, professional, and strategic development. We're partners with our firms. We help them create higher levels of success. We help those leaders really uncover those hidden talents that they sometimes don't even know they have and take it to that next level. And it's a gift from God, quite frankly, to watch people succeed at a higher level and help them accomplish things they never dreamt they could accomplish in the past.
There are people out there that sell training, but
Yeah.
I've never perceived you as that person. You always seem to be the person that really enjoys watching people grow. Is that why you do it?
Well, I think it's a big reason why. There's a big difference between development and training. I always said I can train my dog, but we can develop people. And, the developing people is really, how do we help people find those habits? Because I truly believe, Pat, that most people, 99% of people show up every day and say, I want to be the best that I can be, but maybe I don't really know what the how is behind it. So we got to help them figure out how to change a few habits along the way. And the older we get, the harder that is. But habits can be formed day in and day out to be a better version of ourselves every day forward.
Well, development is a wonderful thing to make sure that we're
Yeah.
all moving forward. But today, your message is a little bit bigger picture. 1 in 400 trillion. You won the lottery in life. Are you making the most of your opportunity? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think, Pat, when I'm going to do a little backdrop on this. So if I say the word success, I had the good fortune a few years ago in 2008, 2009, to be part of a radio show with a really good friend of mine. It was called The Pursuit of Success. And on that show, we ended up doing, this was before podcasts were a thing, Elsie. It was one of those things, we were leading the marketplace. And so we had this show and we ended up creating an app for it. But every week I got to interview successful entrepreneurs, successful leaders. And I'd ask them, the first question was always, how did they define success? And interestingly enough, there was not, out of 140 guests, there was no singular same answer. It was always different. And it always had something to do with a feeling or something that they felt great about at the end of the day, or they felt good about the end of the year, or they felt good about where their life was. And that was success to them, is that feeling. And so we started digging deeper and we said, well, how do you get that success feeling? And success feelings comes from, a lot of times, the results that we achieve. And those results we achieve come from those actions and behaviors that we take. If you think about it, there's a direct correlation between what results I get and what I do. But why is it that we take the actions that we take? And we take those actions simply from how we think. That attitude, what's between our ears. We always said golf's a 6-inch game, so is leadership. And that 6-inch game is how we think every day when we wake up. Are we thinking positive? Are we thinking about what we can accomplish? And the reason we think the way we do is from our past conditioning, our past experiences. So if we really want to change something, we first got to change how we think and then what we do. And so, long story short, that 1 in 400 trillion, I'd heard it before, but it didn't really hit me until one day I was reading a book called In Awe from a good buddy of mine named John O'Leary. And John always said, he said, and some of you maybe have heard of John. He's a motivational or inspirational speaker out of St. Louis. And John was burned on 98% of his body when he was 9 years old. The story is awesome. If you ever get a chance, go get his book On Fire, now his new book In Awe. But in that book, Patty talks about this whole thing about, how do we live like children? How do we walk into a building? How do we walk into a meeting? How do we walk into a stadium? How do we walk into life in awe? In awe, I'm so excited about being what I am. And in there, and I don't remember the exact page, I'd have to go back and look at it, but he says, we have won the lottery by just being here. And there's a lot of different formulas out there, but his formula was, if you take the mathematical odds of your dad's DNA and your mom's DNA and put those two together, the eggs and you know what else, I can't say it on Facebook here, but you put those mathematical odds together, it's 1 in 400 trillion. The fact that you and I are sitting here as individuals. In my case, it's even bigger for my kids because I had to find somebody that would even go out with me, right? So the odds are even greater. But long and short of it, we won the lottery, 1 in 400 trillion of being here today. And so you put that together with success. I know it's a long-winded answer, Pat, but man, oh man, we won the lottery. What are we going to be the most successful person we can be?
Let's dig in on success for a second,
Yeah.
because when you ask someone that's not thinking very critically about it, what does success mean? They probably say money. And when
Yeah.
you talk to all of those folks doing your radio show, how often was money the driver? And if it wasn't the driver, what else were they saying?
Yeah. It was never the driver. Money was never, nobody ever said when they said, what is success? How much money they have in the bank. It was, what are they having as an impact? And a successful business obviously is an impact, and that comes with that is a responsibility to be financially stable so that people can have jobs. I know I wake up every morning saying I've got several people on our team that rely on me to run a good business so that they can get paid and their families can eat. So money certainly is a motivation, but it's not the end all be all. At the end of the day, we're all going to leave here with the same amount, and that's zero, right? So what impact can we have? So all those people, Pat, really talked about the impact that they were having either in their community, on their teams, on their families, in the country, but they were really talking about impact at the end of the day and a feeling that they were making a difference in people's lives.
One of the things I can feel viscerally from just talking to you for the first 15 minutes is I remember our early conversations. You're a terrific listener and you help people pull out the things that they're not saying. So what you're saying right now as a small business owner, because the folks that watch this show, we're all small business owners,
Yeah.
That financial motivation is something that drives a lot of pressure, but forgetting and losing sight of those other ways that we can have an impact could almost relieve that pressure,
Right.
allowing folks to understand that they don't have to grow their business 10x, even though that's what's peddled to us. We have to have a bigger impact each day. And the thing that I remember is that you always started that with the behaviors that you took and the way that you thought about every day. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think that really comes into that if you look at our strategic plan as a business, the end goal has nothing to do with the number. It's the end target is we're so remarkable that people come to us. So when you think about our whole team rallying every day around whatever they do, that they're so remarkable that people want to spend more time with them, be around them more to help them grow, help the other people grow. And so then you start looking and say, what are those high payoff activities that you can do? And what I mean by high payoff activities, folks, is it's what are those things that are 1, 2, 3 steps before your final result that get the whole system moving. And I'm a big college football fan. I love that, but so many times, I hate to say it with Nebraska the way they are right now, Pat, but it's been a painful 20 years. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Long and short of it, though, when you think about who gets the credit on the football field, the quarterback or the receiver or the running back because they scored a touchdown. But the reality is when you look at high payoff activities, if that lineman misses a block or that coach forgets to teach a kid how to execute in a certain play, that play's dead before it ever starts. And then those people don't get the glory. So high payoff activities are, what do you do first thing in the morning to get your day really ramped up and rolling? What do you do the first day of the month to make sure you have a fantastic month? Use your example, Pat. You said you have now blocked out every meeting for the rest of the year. You've taken no more meetings. To me, that's a high payoff activity. You made a decision to finish what you started, to execute on things so you're delivering on people's expectations. That's a high payoff activity. You blocked your time not to take anything more. Now, somebody else might say, I'm looking at Jeff on the phone. He may say he needs to set 15 new meetings for the first part of the year, and he needs to make calls to do that to get his next year going really strong. So again, high payoff activities differ, but it's a small amount of time that drive the end result.
So we're talking with Boyd Ober, President and CEO of Leadership Resources. And to give you an example of these high payoff activities, back in the day, I still remember one of them you had me track. It was, as always, trying to lose some weight. And you had me count French fries. I had to count how many French fries I was eating. And it was painful to put that down, how many times I had French fries. One of the things you get noticed for is your license plate. Can you talk about that?
Well, I stole that from, I shouldn't say stole, I R&D'd it from John O'Leary. So when I was reading John's book, I think I was actually on a flight. This is pre-pandemic. And so I was on a flight, and I hate to say where I was going, but it was such a gift. I was going to Maui, and I was reading this, and I read this 1 in 400 trillion. And I thought, wow. And I highlighted and I circled it, and I put a note down that when I got back, I was actually going to see if that license plate was available. I've never been a personal license plate kind of guy, but I thought, wow, this is fun. And I looked at it, and sure enough, it was available. So I got this license plate. Now it's fun to drive down the road and have people try to figure out, Pat, what that really means. Because I love the fact when somebody asked me this, I drove into a client's site one day, and he says, okay, I got to know what that license plate stands for. And so my assignment was, before I came back in 2 weeks, I said, you have to do some research, and you have to come back and tell me what you think it means. And sure enough, and I lost a case of beer off that one, because whoever got it got a case of beer. But long and short of it, it was just fun to have people think and to realize then that they too won the lottery. We all won the lottery, and we all get to have a different impact. Mine just happens to be in a field that I absolutely adore and love. Somebody else, LC, I go back to him, doing podcasts. He's changing people's lives every day by getting their message out there. That's a pretty cool thing. What you're doing as an idea coach, really cool thing. You're impacting people. That's your version of winning the lottery and get to do what you love.
So how did you spell out the license plate? Now I'm intrigued, because you didn't.
You have to come back to Nebraska to see it. No.
Oh, man. Hey, if I'm coming back, I'm bringing a cooler, because I'm stopping at the Fremont Meat Market, because you can't get steak here like you can there. I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's another thing Nebraska has over Wisconsin.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Sorry, Wisconsin fans, but it's the number one.
Yeah.
IN 400 T. Big
Sure.
T. So it's exactly like you would think of a 1 in 400 trillion.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, Pat.
So if you have questions for Boyd, drop them in the chat. We've got a few more questions as we have time with him, and then we'll talk with Nancy Major from Blessings in a Backpack. Let's talk about how we can start to change our behavior. Like, what can we do as a leader or running our own business to start the change towards what we want out of life?
Yeah. A lot of people say start with your why. I think that's a really hard question to answer. If you've ever done that and said, what's my why? What's my why? And so many people struggle with what's their why. So I always recommend people just sit down with a blank piece of paper and say, in whatever time frame that you can think out. Some people are really good about thinking out 3 years. Some people are really thinking out a year. Some people are 10 years out. But we all have to realize we're all in a different place in life, and we all have a different something going on. Every person I know has something going on in their life. So what I recommend to people is start with a blank piece of paper and just say, at the end of this period, let's say it's a year, what would be success for me? What would be some of those things I'd want to do? And when I did that, how would I feel? So if we know then in terms of what would be some of those things, back to yours, Pat, you wanted to drop a few pounds. Okay, how many pounds do I want to drop? Okay, some people want to say, I want to make a certain amount of money. Great. Some say, I want to get my kid through college. Some say, I want to read a few books. Okay, whatever that may be, whatever those things are, list them down and try to come up with your top 3 to 5 priority. What would be those top things that would really make you feel great? So if you have those things, then when you start your day or start your week, write down all the things you've got to do. And then go back and look at them and do a simple thing. And I didn't steal this from We Are the Millers, but it happens to be one of my favorite lines in the movie. Just say 1, 2, 3 and do it. How many of you, show of hands, how many of you seen We Are the Millers? There you go. Raise your hands high. We're all a bunch of demented people. But 1, 2, 3, just write down 1, 2, 3. And then don't go on to 4, 5, and 6 till you get 1, 2, 3 done. The key is if you can get one of those 1, 2, 3s to match up with some of those key things you want to accomplish during the year, you're going to make progress. And it's not about perfection, folks. It's about progress. The simple rule of thumb is if you're 0.03% better every day during the day, you'll be 100 times or 100% better at the end of the year, right? So you start doing the math. This is a journey going back to you won the lottery. How do you be the best version of yourself? Simply be 0.03% better every day by doing 1, 2, 3, and you're going to get there.
And that reminds me, like watching a plant grow. You can't watch a plant grow in real time, but you can watch it over the course of a few weeks. So you always encourage daily tracking. So what do you have people do with these goals? Are they little boxes? What are you recommending nowadays?
You know, there's lots of different systems out there. We created a technological system that allows people to get a positive trigger every day. Did I accomplish it or not? So just do a yes, no type of thing, or count how many times you did it. That really works well for people because we're so addicted to technology that we get this little reminder. I call it a positive trigger. There's so many negative triggers in our life. Those negative triggers are things that make us mad. Yeah. But if we get a positive trigger, did I make those 3 calls that I wanted to make to further my career? Yes. Okay. How many days did I do that? If you track that for 60 days and you did it 40 days, you've made 120 new calls, right? So you're making progress. That's one system. Another is plain and simple. Have a piece of paper in front of you and just track it every day. Did I do what I said I was going to do? It doesn't have to be complicated, folks. Keep it in your world. Keep it simple.
So we have a few questions coming in. Elsie, go ahead, sir. Elsie, are you with us?
There you are, bud. I was muted in 2 different places. Sorry about that.
All good. Go ahead.
So I noticed in, Boyd, your background, I can't see the whole thing, but I'm noticing an EOS bullet point on there. I happen to have not full on implementation, but I have some experience with EOS. Absolutely fell in love with it and think that it's one of the best systems. So my question though is, just being somewhat familiar with it, it's a little bit different in terms of the touch points, in terms of how you approach leadership, how the leadership and management is implemented, maintained, and tracked. So my question is, does that require a philosophical shift in terms of your leadership, or can anyone implement that system?
That's a great question, Elsie. We're a certified implementer. My business partner, Dan Cedar, who Pat, you might remember.
Sure.
Dan's the only certified implementer in the state of Nebraska. Andy Grant on our teams, I think on this call as well. Andy's an implementer as well. So we've got a team of people that are implement Elsie, and I'm glad that you said you love the system. For me, EOS is a lifestyle. It's an operational model. And one of the things I gained out of that radio show, 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, was one of the common characteristics of these great leaders. And I say great leaders, I mean, every one of them accomplished something awesome in life. And not only were they worthy of a show, but they had a great success story. But the number one thing I saw across the board that they had is they had commitment. When they said they were going to do something, they did it. And sure, they had their hiccups, and they, like everybody else, they had to restart different things, but commitment to keep going. And that's what EOS brings, in my mind, to most entrepreneurs, because most entrepreneurs suffer from what I believe is redneck disease. And that's basically a shiny boat, beer can, whatever. It takes your attention off where you want to go. So EOS provides you that operational model that allows you to stay committed, not only you, but also your team. When you profess, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to get there, and here's the steps we're going to take to get there, then you stay committed to it. It's absolutely transformed how I lead a business. So, does that answer your question, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. Great question. Thank you.
Thanks, Elsie. Let's go to Consuela Munoz. Consuela, go ahead.
Yeah, so Boyd, I was wondering, when you were talking about, you're using technology to have those daily interaction, those positive triggers, do you find that there's a lot of interaction with those, or do folks tend to get overwhelmed with that daily something?
Yeah, it really depends on the person. Consuelo, we're all different. We're all wired differently, right? When I think about behavioral change, the thing I think about behavioral change is it's got to be consistent for a certain period of time. So if you're wanting to do a certain activity daily, set up the system to be able to give you a reminder daily for 30 days. And if you make progress on those 30 days and say, I'm where I want to be, shut off the system for a week and see how you do. And if you start slowing down or failing, reset it up for another 30 days, but have those stop gaps for yourself so that you're not setting something up that's going to run for life. Okay. Now there might be another type of thing that says, you know what, I want to be reminded of gratitude. I want to, it's weird how we're all wired, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves of the simplest things. And so I would always have a daily reminder to make sure that I was doing my gratitude for my spouse. I've been blessed to be married for 33 years. And I had a daily reminder to make sure I was reminding myself to show gratitude, do something special for her. She didn't even know I was doing it. Well, that was a weekly thing. I wanted to make sure I was reminding myself on a weekly basis because I wanted to do it more long-term. So I wasn't necessarily worried about a daily habit. Does that make sense?
So are they like activities to do, or
most of the time, if it's a daily, it is an activity. If it's bigger than that, if it's an outcome, it's more of a result when you want to measure like either weekly or bi-weekly. So I say there's multiple different levels. We call it level 4 is the outcome. I want to lose 20 pounds, right? That's an outcome. My activity is I want to eat healthy every day, or I want to exercise every day type of thing, or I want to exercise 5 days a week. Those are activity-based. Attitudinal could be even more than once a day, could be twice a day. I want to remind myself in the morning to have this mindset. I want to remind myself at noon. So the system can be adjusted to whatever style fits you best, basically. And that's where we always think, I'm in this business, but I've had a coach for 16 years. I think it's important to have somebody there to help you along your journey.
So hold that thought on attitude there. I'm going to ask you one more question on that, but this is what's really fun for me. So I mentioned at the start of the show that Boyd coached me way back in the day. Now we have a question coming in from someone that's coaching me now, and you two are like kindred spirits. So Ariel Kopech, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Ariel.
Hi, Boyd. Definitely feeling the kindred spirit. I told Pat I'm literally clapping every time you say something. I love it. So 2 things. One, hard lesson that I had early on in starting my coaching practice was I was brought in by a firm, and they said, we have a culture challenge with accountability. So they wanted me to bring me in and have me help guide their team, their staff around accountability and change the culture and all that. And what I found to be a good learning lesson was they wanted to delegate accountability to their teams, to the firm, to the rest of the people, and didn't internalize the importance of accountability as a leader. So I'm curious about perhaps your experience with accountability and the leaders with accountability, the conversation to not delegate that to your team and owning that first and foremost. I'm curious about your experience in that.
Yeah, that's a pretty deep question and wide ranging. So I love where you went with it. And here's what I mean by accountability. When we're working with individuals and teams, we want to teach them the mindset of accountability, about personal accountability. I want to be responsible. If you want to trigger me, don't take responsibility for something you said you were going to do. That's like an automatic, and Jeff's probably grinning right now because we're on a call today, and somebody said they were going to make a call last week on a follow-up and they didn't do it. And I said, okay, come on. That's personal responsibility. It's not hard, but that's what we mean by accountability, teaching people to be accountable to themselves. So where I go with that is every system and procedure that we want to work with clients, and I'm guessing you do as well, is how do you teach leaders to teach others to be accountable to what they say they're going to do? Because none of us want to go back to the 60s and the 70s and say it's command and control. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't want to wake up someday and somebody tells me, says, Boyd, you are going to do this and I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to put my thumb on you and I'm going to hold you accountable. Nothing's more demeaning than saying, I can't do it myself. So I want to teach people how to hold themselves accountable. And that starts with the leadership. So it's core values, it's philosophy, those type of things. But I think all leaders, if you give them the opportunity, can have that positive conversation with their people and say, I trust you. Ariel, is there anything keeping you from being able to do this on your own? If so, let me know and we'll help you get through it. That's development. Okay.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Boyd. All right, last one real quick. I know it's the holiday season and you're always putting people in the right mindset. So what are you thinking right now as far as the attitude for the rest of the year? What's on your plate?
Oh my goodness, that is a really good one. So I'm gonna borrow from two people that have really just touched my lives over the last few years. One, and call him Tony. I won't go last names in case, but Tony, Marine guy. When he was 18 years old, he went to the Marines and he had children early and everything. But Tony came into my life about 5-6 years ago, and he always says relationships matter. And so I'm going to use this as we go through this time together and say relationships matter. When you're thinking about whether it's your family, your friends, your clients, whoever it is, remember we're all going through something, especially 2020. Everybody's going through something and nobody has it. There's probably somebody has it worse. Somebody has it better, but we're all going through something. We don't get to see our parents. We don't get to see our kids, whatever it is. Just remember that relationships matter. So treat everybody with great respect. So the other one I'm going to share is, I don't know if you can see this duck on my desk here. You see that, Pat?
Yeah, I see it.
This is little Timmy. So a few years ago, I had a great opportunity, and I can use his name as he's a regent here at UNL. But Tim came to me and said, "Boyd, I want to be like a duck on water with leadership. I want people to think it looks so easy. I'm like a duck on water." And so I had this duck, so I call him Little Timmy. When I'm thinking about things, it's like, I want to make it look so easy, but big Tim, in that case, was doing a commencement speech for the university. And my son happened to go through, my youngest was going through the commencement exercise. And at the end of this regent speech, he said, I want you to look at somebody next to you and simply say the words, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Now that was 5 years ago. And I could say, without a doubt, I say, I appreciate you to probably 99% of the people I see now, because it changes the interaction you have with people. And say, when I see Ariel, I can say, I appreciate your question, but I appreciate you as an individual, right? And Pat, I appreciate you having me on this show. It was awesome. It's a lot of fun. And I think that's the two things I want to leave with you guys is relationships matter. Treat everybody with respect. Know that that person matters in your life. Know that you matter to them, but also just always end with, I appreciate you.
That's lovely. We appreciate you, Boyd. Thank you for coming on.
Great show. I'm glad. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, man.
I'm really proud of you, my man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Boyd Ober, President and CEO of Leadership Resources in good old Lincoln, Nebraska. Ship me a Valentino's, will you, Boyd? I'd really appreciate it.
Hey, Jeff, will you make that happen, buddy?
No, not really. I didn't mean really. That's what I thought of. All right, Boyd, thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate it. All right, so if you're fired up now and you're ready to make an impact and you're ready to invoke some change, maybe right where you live, the person who's coming on the phone next, well, Nancy Major can help you do that. She's the managing director of Blessings in a Backpack, which is a terrific organization. Let's say good afternoon, Nancy. Nancy, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
I'm so delighted to be here. It is great to see so many familiar faces. I haven't seen a lot of these folks in a while, so it is so nice to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share a little bit about Blessings. And Boyd, what a great discussion. And I love the points that you made about gratitude and remembering that relationships matter. It's so fitting for this organization, as we're going to talk about.
Well, we're looking forward to hear more about it. Now, you've been serving in the community for a long, long time, and now you're with Blessings in a Backpack. Tell us about this organization and why you chose to take it on.
Well, I am so honored, really honored to be leading the Waukesha County chapter of Blessings in a Backpack. It, as you mentioned, I have been in nonprofit leadership for probably 30 years now, and I am just ecstatic to have come into contact with Blessings in a Backpack. The organization serves elementary kids throughout local communities who are struggling with food insecurity, struggling with hunger, and don't always know where their next meal is coming from. And we just often don't think about that being right here in our local community. And as some of you who may know me, I have worked with children's organizations, the predominance of my career. And I was so blessed. They reached out to me when they were just starting to officialize this chapter as becoming part of a national organization. And so I'm the first director of this local chapter. So I'm really excited to be in this position at this time.
Well, that puts more responsibility, but more opportunity on your plate, which I know you're always eager to take on. When did it start, and when was it established in Waukesha? Just now?
No, actually, it all along, Blessings in a Backpack, which is part of a bigger national organization, it actually started, the whole entity is fairly young. It started in 2005 with a lovely woman who was volunteering at one of her kids' schools and was in the cafeteria, and a little girl asked for her apple. She had lunch with her child at the school, and this little girl had asked for the apple, and this lady had said, didn't you eat your lunch? Meaning from the school. And this little girl said, yeah, I did, but I need it for later because we don't have any food at home. So it's when I go home. So this wonderful woman was just heartbroken at that idea, went home that day, told her husband to clear out their garage and let's go shopping. We're buying all kinds of food and we are going to start feeding these kids who need us, because some kids in my kids' school are going hungry and I can't believe it. And so she started digging more into from the principals, from the social workers, from the teachers themselves, understanding how prevalent the issue was. And so Waukesha County actually, it started with a very small group of dedicated people, as most nonprofits usually do, heard about this and decided to start as a grassroots program. They adopted basically one school that had a need to feed 25 kids. And there were 25 kids that had been identified by the schools. So this little group had agreed that they would take responsibility for that. And every week they would deliver food on Fridays to be handed out by the teachers. That's the beauty of our program, is it's very anonymous. So we don't know individual kids. We get a kid count. The teachers know the individual kids. The social workers know the kids. The schools themselves are dealing with children, these children in their schools directly. So they give us a kid count, and then we come to the school and deliver the food that then gets put into each child's individual backpack, which again is part of the name and part of what we do to keep it anonymous, so that to preserve their dignity and out of respect, so that they're not identified by peers as in a different way.
Well, let us understand some scope. How many kids need the program?
That's the really crazy thing. And again, it's just mind blowing. Obviously COVID and the impact from this pandemic has been huge in our area. We know that. We know so many friends have been laid off from their jobs and are barely making ends meet. It's very challenging for a number of families. So the estimate we got from the CDC about the Waukesha County area originally was 11,000 kids in our region, 17 and under, are going hungry on the weekends, are struggling with food insecurity. And the number is shot up to 15,000 now in today's current everyday world. And so that is in Waukesha County, which is just mind-blowing. A lot of people don't understand that it's really is a silent epidemic. It really is something that is hidden behind closed doors, and you don't always know what's going on in a particular household, in your community, in your neighborhood, right next door, going to school with your kids, your grandkids, your relatives' kids. It's everywhere, and I have such a passion for this. You asked, Pat, why did I choose to take this? I come from a background where I would have been one of those kids, and unfortunately there wasn't a program like Blessings. And I can share with you that that was deeply humiliating and embarrassing at a certain age, that I realized that my family unit, we were oftentimes homeless and oftentimes hungry. And it was much easier to ask someone for a candy bar than it was to say, I need a meal. I haven't eaten. And we don't often think about, there's 65 hours for a child to go through from the end of school on Friday to when they re-enter school on Monday and get their first meal. Those 65 hours, that's huge for a little one.
So there's 15,000 in need. How many are you currently serving?
We're currently serving 2,200 kids a week, 2,200 kids every single week. And we started in 2008 as a grassroots program with one school with 25 kids. And in the 8 years, they have grown over that period of time, just organically. It's all purely driven by volunteers. And I am the first official staff person for this chapter because it grew out of control. And obviously to have even a bigger impact going forward, we know the need is greater and we know the demand is greater. So we know there's more work ahead. And the really staggering thing is a bag of food to feed a child for the weekend for the meals they need. I'm going to just hold one up so I can show you what a bag looks like. These are called pre-packs, and they have all of the individual portion sizes for kids to open and eat right out of the container. So there's no parental or supervision needed because we can't assume that that's available. We can't assume that they have a food source or a microwave or even a stove. And so we want to make sure that the food is high nutrition, high protein, meets all the guidelines, and is clearly safe.
So 15,000 need it. You're serving 2,200, which is fantastic. You're talking to a small group, but small business owners. What can we do to help? What do you need?
The staggering thing to me is the cost of feeding a child for the entire weekend is $4. It's $4 a bag. So just think about that when you're thinking about running through McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or something like that, or Starbucks, whatever business you might go to for a cup of coffee. $4 and you could be feeding a child. So it's $130 to feed a child for the entire school year. So what we encourage everyone to do is really think, how many children can you adopt? How many can you help us feed? And that's really the greatest need that we have. And the majority of the effort, we mobilize communities and volunteers such as yourself. We work with many volunteers to get this food delivered to all. Now we're in 27 schools and serving 2,200 kids. So we're all over Waukesha County and definitely growing. So we definitely need volunteers as well as dollars. And any one of you can do a simple fundraiser on your Facebook. You could make sure that you're spreading the awareness of Blessings in a Backpack. That's one of the big needs. I am a team of one as far as staff. So obviously all that goes into it, and all of you that own businesses and are entrepreneurs, that's why this resonated with me so well, because I have that spirit and certainly can appreciate that. But throughout the entire country, one thing I just wanted to share with you is throughout the entire country, we're serving 90,000 kids a week throughout the US, and we have 36 staff members. That's it.
Wow.
So all of that is done by volunteers. We wouldn't be here without volunteers.
So if we go to this website and click the Donate Now button, is that how we do it? Become either a one-time
Yes.
or monthly donor?
Actually, that's the national one. And yes, you could do that, or you could do Waukesha.Blessings in a Backpack.
Okay.
And that will bring you right to our local one, because most people that are right here in our area, we obviously want to have a designation for Waukesha County, and because you're helping kids right in your own community.
So we go to the Waukesha.blessingsinAbackpack.org, this one.
There you go.
And then from here, we'll click Donate Now.
Yeah, Donate Now. And if you do click on that, you can see designate where you want. So yep, you were right there, designation, where it's needed most, or any of the schools. You can specify any of the 27 schools. And obviously we will keep growing.
So what makes a dent here? I know every dollar counts, but I mean, $5,000, $10,000. I mean, what really helps you? What's the next level for your service in the community?
Well, really, it is dependent on the school and how many kids there are. So as I look to grow this organization, if I were to say I wanted to launch into a new school that we currently don't serve, where there are kids identified, it depends on the number. But if you take the $130 per child figure for the entire school year, and you say a school has somewhere between 25 to, some of our schools have 280 kids in that school. Those are the dollar amounts that we're talking about. I would encourage each individual to consider a gift of $130 or even $4. It goes a long way. It makes a difference. The other thing is to reach out if you're interested in volunteering. We have all kinds of openings, obviously every single week. This is a process that we go through. So it's picking up the food at our storage facility, helping to, take the particular quantities to each individual school that we serve.
It's beautiful what you're doing. Congratulations. And I can feel the Idea Collective behind me, the small business owners group that I'm lucky enough to be a part of.
Sorry, I'm not very savvy, Pat.
I can feel them behind me getting ready to get their credit cards out. And I know that others in the small business community are cheering for you. One quick question before we let you go. Sam wants to know, is it better to give a one-time gift or a monthly adopt? What helps you more, like monthly or annual?
Monthly is so great. It's such an easy way to give, and it really makes it so seamless for both you and on our end, and it really does help a great deal.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, congratulations on your great work. We'll do what we can to support you, and have a happy holiday season. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. I really am grateful for the opportunity.
It's our pleasure. Nancy Major, thank you for coming on the show. So we've got a couple more things we got to hit on before we wrap up the Small Business Rally Point for today. One exciting thing is that we're going to be upgrading this bad boy. We've got a new name. What? Can't even tell you that yet, but we got a new name and it's going to be great. And we're going to be distributing this show all over God's green earth. We're going to use restream.io and send this everywhere. So soon we will be multicasting everywhere. You'll be able to get it wherever you want. So stay tuned for a couple of changes that are coming your way. Also, one exciting guest announcement, and I am super pumped. 2 weeks from today, Dr. John Raymond, CEO of the Medical College of Wisconsin, is going to be on the show talking about the vaccines distribution in the state of Wisconsin. So many small business owners like me are wondering, when will this get happening? Well, he is the authority, as explained to me, the Dr. Fauci of Wisconsin. He's going to be able to come on and tell us the real deal and get some accurate information. So a big thank you to them for helping us make that happen. On the way, we've got a fun event, and that's happening next week. Actually, no, it's not. It's this Friday, the Small Business Holiday Party. It's the second annual one. Let's go to the showrunner, Jennifer Buchholz. Jennifer, give us an update on the party this Friday.
Tech support would like you to know that you are all invited to our small business holiday party. He will have a costume on and you can judge him or me or whatever. But I'll drop the link because it is going to be a blast. We already have 78 people registered. And if you are not one of them, do it now. Yeah. And invite somebody else. Yeah, Abby was threatened by that. I liked that. She's like, ooh, scared. Yeah. It's the bangs. And then after you register, invite somebody else to come because it is a party not to be missed. I mean, Van is going to be there. So if Van's going to be there, we should all be there.
What if all your friends are already in the Idea Collective? What do I do then, Jennifer Buchholz?
I'd like you to make a new friend, Andy, but that's a lot to ask in 1 week.
I don't know about that. Not sure.
That's an awfully loaded answer. You heard it here first, folks. Andy Wise is making new friends this week.
Oh, good. Go make a new friend and bring them to the Small Business Holiday Party. And I know that we had some friends from Nebraska tuning in today to see Boyd Ober. Small businesses from all across the country are getting together. This is the official Small Business Holiday Party because, hey, if you're a small business owner, you probably don't get one. So 4:30 till 6:30 Friday afternoon, join us, and the link is now in the chat. The other thing we're super excited about, thanks to Bank 59 and some other incredible sponsors like Serendipity Labs, we have an entire week next week of small business planning that is 100% free. And we are welcoming someone that's just an incredible strategic planner. Liz Watson is going to host this whole thing. Howdy, Liz. How are things shaping up for next week?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, we're getting there, Pat. So looking forward to it. So glad to be partnering with the Idea Collective and you. This is going to be great.
We've got 5 days of strategic planning. That's a lot, but it's not a lot when we talk about all the stuff we got to think about to get ready for a successful 2021. So give us the 30-second version. What are all the things we're going to go over next week?
Okay, so instead of just having somebody tell you, go strategic plan now, well, we're going to help you come up with the ideas of the areas within your business you can come up with some plans about. So we're going to talk about how to be financially steady. Thank you, Pat, for sharing that on the screen. All the things you need to think about from a financial steadiness perspective, and operating even more on an excellent basis. So think of standard operating procedures. That's going to be on day 2. Day 3, which is Wednesday, we're going to talk about the products and services that you offer, all the ways that you're generating revenue for your business, and also all of the ways that you are trying to be visible in your business. Then we're going to talk Thursday about growth and development. That means you as the leader from a personal and professional perspective, and also consider your team. And then Friday, we're going to recap it all, open the floor to even more questions, see which ones resonated with you, which ones you're going to take with you as you move forward into the new year. So it's really about tying to what the Idea Collective is truly about. It's about ideas. And we want to help you by using our knowledge, but also the knowledge of so many people within the Idea Collective to help you come up with some new, good, cool things that you want to do for the next year.
And sometimes it's just about purposefully thinking about next year, like stopping the world and thinking about what do I want to get done next year, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pause just for a bit.
And we're doing it.
Things.
we're doing it over the lunch hour from noon to 1. So you can eat a sandwich, just watch and learn and think and do what you got to do. Liz, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. If you haven't signed up yet, please do so right away. And same for the Small Business Holiday Party. We've got an entire team of people, JB and Tech Support the Cat. I mean, the cat is the boss, but we've got an entire team of people that have been planning this thing for weeks. So what did Boyd say? I appreciate you. I do. Thank you for all your hard work. Thanks to Boyd. Thanks to Nancy, Liz, Jennifer, everyone that came on the show today. That wraps up the Small Business Rally Point for Monday, the 7th of December. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the goodness on the way. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. See you next time.